Hello and welcome once again. Today we're going to discuss a major recall to one of the models, Hyundai Tucson's vehicles, and they're from 2016, 2018, and then 2020, 2021. There's been a problem with the computers, and there seems to be a short involved in the computer that will cause a fire. So obviously this is a major concern for any vehicle owner. When there's a major recall, that means there's a chance of injury to a driver or a passenger, or there might be loss or damage to the vehicle. So the problem over here is a computer, which my channel is Joe Electronic Schematics for Auto, and I always talk about schematics, especially computers. You have many connectors going to a computer. And if this is a diagram, you have about 200 connectors. Inside of any computer, which is called the printed circuit board, which is the components, these are the components on any printed circuit board, whether this is for body control module, whether this is for power train control module, whatever the module is for, air conditioning module, there are components on them. There are no fuses over here on these boards. The fuses are in the fuse panel. So therefore, they're claiming that there is a computer problem that will cause a short, that will cause a fire in the car. And they stress the point, they want the vehicles to be parked outside. Why? Obviously because if there's a fire and you're going to bring it to the shop, the whole shop will be on fire. So therefore, they want to play it safe and they want to leave the vehicles parked outside. Now, we have to understand they're saying there's a short in the computer. What's a computer? So, a computer is a chip or microprocessor with memory and microcontrollers. And then, like I said, there's about 200 or maybe more connectors. Now, you can't put a fuse for every connector. That's 200 fuses. You can't do that. It's not done like that. So, you want to have least parts available. So, therefore, as you can see, there are components on one side and on the other side of printed circuit boards, which make up computer modules and connectors. Now, connectors going here or connectors here, the module itself, especially powertrain control module, the main board is usually sealed off. And it's sealed off in a metal cabinet of comprising a heat sink, and that's to take the heat away from the printed circuit board. Two factors that affect the printed circuit board is the heat. The components do not like heat. Chips, these are called chips. These black things with the pins coming out, these are chips. They do not like heat. Transistors do not like heat. So therefore, we have to dissipate the heat away from them. So you have around it, and this is the inside, obviously. The outside of it is like a metal shielding, which is enclosed and sealed so nothing can get through. So like we said, heat is an enemy, and vibration is an enemy. Other thing is liquids are an enemy. Remember, if you spill water on a printed circuit board or a liquid, it is conductive. Therefore, that can cause a short. Now, again, going back to their reasoning that they're saying that there's a short in the computer, and now they have to extend this warranty to another almost 500,000 vehicles. Hard for me to believe that there's a short in the same point on all these modules. Now, sometimes unfortunately, you can have, like I said, there's a seal around it, but you still have cables, extensions going to the extender, the connector. That's not sealed off completely. Now, water can seep in or liquids, because if this is next to, let's say, power steering fluid or a reservoir, which contains a liquid, and that liquid is leaking, it can make its way upon or onto sometimes the printed circuit board. And that will lead to corrosion, obviously. So it's not clear from now what they mean by a short on computer boards. Now, let's say you have a short. Let's go by their reason they do have a short. There's one thing that I always go through, and my channel is Joe Electronic Schematics for Auto, and my other one is Automotive Electronic Schematics for Joseph. I always talk about schematics, I always talk about computers, and I did videos upon these things, about modules. They have I always go over the fuses and the fuse rating. So let's say over here, this is 10 amps. Over here, and it goes to the computer. This is the malfunction switch that comes on, indicator light that comes on in your dashboard. Let's say instead of 10 amps, they put the wrong rating according to them, to their reasoning. Let's say instead of 10 amps to protect the fuse, right? Let's say it should be 8 amps or 7 amps or something like that. If that 7 or 8 amps is like that, that means it'll blow quicker. If the fuse rating should be above 10 amps, let's say it should be 15 amps, 17 amps, actually 10 amps or 15, 20 amps, right? It'll allow more current to go in. So when you increase the rating of the current, you allow more current to go in, right? And at the same time, the fuse will blow. So 2 factors are involved: the low rating of the fuse and the high rating of the fuse. The higher the rating of the fuse, instead of 10 amps, it'll go to 20 amps. That means it can allow 18 amps, more current. Sometimes you don't want that. You don't want to allow more current. Then you're asking for trouble. If you're going for 10 amps and you're going to make it at 8 amps, you're safer. Why? Because you don't want too much current to go. You're clipping it at 8 amps. That means anything above 8 amps, the fuse will blow. So they have to change their fuse rating according to them. Fine. Now the question arises, why can't you change the fuse? If they say the fuse is the wrong rating and they have to change it or upgrade it to a different fuse rating, current rating, why can't they tell it and then the owner of the vehicle do it? That's because they'll still be liable. They want to do it themselves, and they want to make sure that they're not liable if anything happens. Once they do it, they're off the spot. So in case a fire does happen, God forbid, then if anything happens like that, hey, we did our part. We acknowledged the fact that there is a problem. We gave you warning, and we told you to come in with your vehicle. But if you take it upon yourself to do it and something happens, they are not liable. That's a part of recalls. So try to pay attention to these things. Like, let's say if you have a problem with it, call the dealership. There's a place online to put in your VIN number, and then you'll see if it's a recall. Actually, this is going for the electronic brake modulator system, which is a computerized system for activating the brakes, the ABS brakes. So anyway, like I said, everything is computerized, everything is electronics. But this is only one sample of many, many modules that are out there, like I've spoken about in the videos that I make, of what's incorporated or what's composed of the computer problem that they're talking about. Remember, a computer board will have the components on it. The fuses are not here. The fuses are external in the fuse panel box. So therefore, like we gave this example or we gave these examples, if this is the computer that they're talking about, if you know my channel, I talk about diagrams and diagnostics of electronics. Each one has a purpose to it. Each connector has a purpose to it for a different system. So let's say these two will be for starting charging system. These will be for the air conditioning system. This is for the anti-lock brake system. All these systems are operated or controlled by the printed circuit board called the powertrain control module. He's the brains. So therefore, if you have any problems with this computer, you have to have some protection to it. What will cause a change in current? If you strip wires, sometimes you strip the strands on it, it'll change the resistance. If you change the resistance, then guess what? You're changing the current that's allowed to go through it. That's a hazard for a fire. So keep in mind when you strip wires Keep in mind when you change fuses, they have to be the correct rating, and that's why I always stress the point. On every video, I always go over the fuse rating, and I say, that's a high fuse rating for this. This is a low fuse rating for this. Pay attention to always the fuse rating of these things. So anyway, like I said, please go to my channel. And if you have a recall for Hyundai vehicles, this is not for Santa Fe or Sonatas. It is for the Tucson SUVs. So of those years that I explained. So get in touch or go online and go to that website, please. It's a fire hazard to a car obviously is the worst thing that can happen. So go to my channel, Joe Electronic Schematics for Auto. You'll see hands-on videos of how to measure relays in circuit, not take relays out of circuit. Thanks for watching. I'd like to see you in the next video.